Hi, I'm Linda Deir,
and I'm Ray Holly. Hope everybody had a great Christmas, right? We had a good Christmas.
Yeah, we did.
I hope everybody in Pennsylvania got snowblowers for Christmas.
Yeah, they need them.
Yeah.
Okay, so like each week, what we cover here on this Facebook Live is anybody who has read Guided or listened to Guided, my flagship book, okay? We're here to answer questions you might have about what you want to know, or maybe what happened to some of the characters in the book, or things that the guides showed me. I learned from what they did show me, and what I chose to explore from the time I was 20 months old until now. I mean, nothing's changed. This relationship with your guides, when you have it, only gets better with time. It just is smooth, and it's like having someone right there, like your angel on your shoulder, to just kind of give you a little course corrections, show you what would be best for you at any given time. But once again, it's always your free choice. You have free will in this world, and that's how we learn. We learn through our own free will. If we didn't have it, we would leave just as clueless as we came in. So that's not why we come here. We come here to get it. And after reading Guided, and I suggest that if you really want to learn what we're going to show you today, you really want to get the book, or you want to get the audio book or the Kindle, and find out how this worked in my life, how I managed to make this connection with my guides and develop it over time. Guided is my flagship book, and this is the companion journal to Guided. It's called My Guided Journey. And you can get this companion journal on my website, lindadeir.com. You can get it on the homepage, right on the right side, as a free download. There's a little 3-minute, like a 3-minute video there that just quickly talks about what this is all about. But you're going to learn a lot more about what it's all about right here today, all right? So this is what we're going to be talking about tonight as well. If any of you have questions about, or comments about either one of these books, this is my latest book, the 4th one I wrote. This is the first one I wrote, and Ray.
And this is the second one she wrote, and the third one.
Right.
These are called How to Live a Guided Life, and the red one is Book 1, First Steps. The blue one is Book 2, Meeting the Real You. Now these are little books. These are little, about 100 pages each, and they are all channeled information from Linda's guides, with about 2 or 3 paragraphs of channeled information from the guides, and then a little paragraph from Linda about how it works in your life, how you apply it to your everyday life.
Yeah. These books are great. In fact, these books are, I've heard people say they get these books and their 8-year-old or their 9-year-old or their teenager reads these books and they totally get it. While the parent's going, it makes sense. It seems easy, but I'm missing something. That's because the kids are still at that age where they haven't just thrown away the part of them they brought with them. So they're connected. They still have a connection, although they're acclimating to this world as each day goes by and getting more separate from themselves in most cases. I want you guys to know that never needed to happen. Guided is about changing lives. It will change lives. It's changed many lives. I've had thousands of people, fans, get a hold of me and ask me questions and want to know more about it. It changes lives, but My Guided Journey, it transforms your life. It restores your life, all right? So this is how you do it. This is how I did it as I bumped along and figured it out. But this is how you do it now that I've learned how to do it, all right? And just so you know, in case you don't know about my work, this photograph right here, I'll put it up so they can actually see this. This photograph right here, that's a photograph that I took in 1994 at Christmas time.
Right about this time of year.
Mm-hmm. when my spirit guide angel showed up right there in the living room, okay, well, while the kids were playing and everyone else was around, and nobody saw this except for me, and I happened to have my camera in hand because I was taking pictures of everything going on Christmas time, and I captured this photograph, and I asked everybody, I said, did you see that? And nobody, they said, see what? So I knew then, there we go again. This book will talk about the many times that's happened in my life where I've experienced things, seen things many times, and people around me completely didn't see it, missed it, or whatever. So since I was 20 months old, these guides right here that you see on the front cover of my book, Guided, came to me at 20 months old when my mother almost killed me. And that's the first time they physically materialized all around me. So that when they showed up in 1994, I was 42 years old. I asked them once I got the film back, it was film days, you know, I got that film developed. I asked them in a dream, they came to me about 2 weeks later, and I was lucid, and I asked them why they let me take their photograph that time. And they said, you're going to write a book about your relationship with us since you were a little girl. This is that book. And we appeared so the world could believe. I wrote the book 20 years later.
I'll give a little close-up of this.
Yeah.
There's the photograph.
So I know.
It's an amazing photograph.
So I know who these guides are. I know how they work in your life. And I know how your life works because of them. And that's what I'm going to also, I tell you guys like it is, okay? It isn't just all wonderful. I mean, when you interface who you are, who you came in as, from where you came from, and you integrate that into this world, it's really interesting, especially when you're a child, bringing that together. Most kids, because they get frightened out of it from the people here that are already here, and they push it away. They push their real self away. They do it so fast, they don't even realize they did it, all right? That will be many of you, where you pushed it away because you felt intimidated. You thought you'd get in trouble. You couldn't explain who you were talking to. None of it made sense to these people here. It got so stressful for you to keep trying to explain it or even try to. You almost felt like you were doing something wrong by holding on to this part of you, okay? So that's what happened. That's, in my case, because I was rescued and saved by these guides so early in my life. By the way, I was not raised with any religion at all. This happened in spite of the fact that I had none of that, okay? So this is, I call it an intelligence. It is a higher intelligence. It's a higher way of learning is what they showed me and what I elected to experience or not, okay, throughout my life. So that's what this really is, you guys. It's hooking into something that's bigger than us, all right? Okay, so we all have the experience. That's what I do know, but we don't all remember it. And I happen to remember it because of my traumatic beginnings in this life. So if anyone has questions as we go through this, Ray, go ahead and stop me.
Okay,
all right?
I will.
All right. So today what we're going to be talking about...
Page 7.
Yeah. In My Guided Journey, there's 3 parts to My Guided Journey. The first part explains how this works. The second part is the journey. And right now we're on page 7 of 18 pages of this journey that are designed to get your recall back so you can begin to identify what really happened back there, not from emotional victim energy, but from knowing and what you feel energy, what you remember, okay, what was true, not what you may have made up because you felt victimized in this world. That won't do you any good. You can't come from that energy and get this work done right. You've got to come back to who it is you are, that fearless, all-knowing person who came in, completely capable, all right? And I show you how that works. There's a video that Ray and I did 18 videos on each one of these pages in part 2. And I bring that up where on the website, you go to blog at the top of the lindadeir.com website. You click on blog, and over to the right, you're going to see categories on the blog page. And underneath it, you're going to see My Guided Journey. And when you see that, click on it and go back to the very first videos we did. They're about 1 hour long. And it really gets into how on page 1 and page 2 and page 3, how these things happen in your life. And it will trigger you. You will remember it. And I also help you understand from what's mindset you need to recalibrate yourself, so that before you start writing in your journal what those things were, what happened, what was triggered in you when you watched these videos, it gets you moving in the right direction with regard to how you are looking at it, from what point of view you're looking at it. You're going to be taking your real self that knows, that feels, that remembers, okay? And you're going to be looking at yourself in this world at like somebody else. And you're going to see what you did, what happened around you, how you reacted to it, and without even thinking. I mean, it was pure reaction. Without even thinking about it, the reaction that you had and how you felt in that moment, okay? And you're going to write that down in here. You're not going to write in here what happened from being in it. You know, you can't really see what happened there when you go in it, because that's all that did was cause the life and the decisions that you have today. You would have made a lot better decisions had you been able to do this before, okay? But this is where you start, where you just do it. You start now, and you go back to the beginning, and you go right through it. The first one is fear. The second one is ask. The third one is friends. And right now, today, and it keeps going through this. Today we always show you new things, okay? And I'm going to read this little caption here on the page. We did everything together. There was no separation between you and us. But people kept asking you questions about us. They asked you to explain it, like we were separate from you or outside of you. We felt your disappointment. You felt irritated, but continued to explore what we were showing you. So here's this little guy right here. What you want, you can see it when you see this little child right here. He's walking along, pulling a little stick along a waterway, and just kind of, in contemplation, he's connected, but he's also disappointed. So he's trying to figure out in his limited experience. This is when you're about 6 or 7, maybe 8 years old, more like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And you don't really know how to handle all this. Most of all, the feeling you have, you've got two. You've got one of disappointment, and the next one is irritation. Those are the two feelings you feel the most. So when you remember that feeling when you were a kid, you observe it. You look at it out here. You don't go into it. You from your knowing, from your feeling, what you observe, okay? And you write that into this book, all right? And we're going to trigger you tonight. We're going to hit you with some things. Ray's going to ask me some questions. And just like I said earlier, we did a video on this particular page back in the summer. And you can find it on the blog, on the Linda Deir site, on the blog, over on categories down to My Guided Journey, to the earlier videos here. And be sure before you work in any one of these pages in part 2 that you go to those videos and watch the video first, because it's the setup, it's the mindset. It brings you back to that part in your life where you're going to feel elated, you're going to feel angry, you're going to feel surprised, you're going to feel relieved. You're going to feel all kinds of things as you move through this process, page 1 through 18, all right? And just to sum this up, part 3 is the journaling part of this journal. And that's where once you're done with the journey in part 2, because you can't know where you're going until you know where you've been. So you got to get the work done first. Then when you go into part 3 and you start journaling, you've got the awareness about who is journaling, who, right here, the feeling, who is taking what just happened in your life and documenting it, okay, and keeping it in this chronological order inside your journal, okay. So this is filled with everything you need to get you where you want to go, the reason you came here, to achieve what you came here to do, all right? Okay, Ray, I've said enough.
Whoa. Well, I think people don't realize how important these early years are to making your decisions later in life.
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life.
Right.
Things that happened on these 18 pages affected all your decision making.
It has. As soon as you see what it is, you write it in here, and you do it from the right mindset like I was talking about. You see it like this, and you just go, oh, well, I see why I'm doing these things now, and that won't be happening anymore. I can see where the seeds were planted, where I was pushed in a corner and reacted. I didn't know what else to do, and I've been reacting ever since. How do I stop it? It's easier than you think. That's all I can say. Once you put it on paper and you document what happened there, and you put the pieces together, it's like connecting the dots, page 1 through 18 of part 2. I'm telling you, you can look at your life and it will instantly improve. There is no way it won't.
I went through it.
Yes.
I had big revelations about the decisions I've made in my life and why I made those decisions.
And by the way, the video about Ray taking the journey is what it says. You'll see it in there with My Guided Journey.
That's right.
It's in the mix. So if you see it, be sure to watch that one. Yeah. And on every one of the ones for what we're doing now, I refer to it. So you guys can always just click on the name Ray. It's a hot link, and it'll take you right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
All right. So this little guy here is about kindergarten, first grade.
Well, yeah, something in there, Ray.
I mean, the big, looking back, I remember like the big shock at that point in my life, going to kindergarten, was meeting my peers for the first time. It was a totally different environment than you would meet them at the corner park to play.
Right. You mean versus going to school.
Going to school, and all these kids came in with the same opportunity in their life. As a child, they had the same connection when they got here. But by the time they got to kindergarten and first grade, I don't know what happened to them.
Between kindergarten and first grade. That's what in my book, Guided, I talk about that. I talk about how when I started kindergarten, I was an oddball, no question about it. I had this connection with my guides and these kids, and all these politics were beginning to start, I guess is what you'd call it. And by the time first grade hit, then the politics were really kicking in. And, the leaders were established, and, the cliques and the groups and all the things were established. So at that point, and the bullies were out in full force. That's when the bullies came out. They started to rear their heads. The mean kids, basically. So, and some kids that are people that are very nice today admit to being a bully when they were a young child. It's very interesting. So it doesn't mean that all bullies grow up to be nasty people. They don't. Some bullies actually recognize what they did, and they get it right, They turn that around in themselves, They don't like it. They don't want to behave like that. So some people it's like self-healing in some kind of way.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had people who have read Guided that have called you and talked to you, and they were in their early 40s, women, and she said, I was your mother.
Oh, I know. Okay, so Ray's kind of jumping ahead here. In Guided, my mother would be considered the villain.
Yeah.
Okay, and anyway, when people read the book, everybody reacts differently. And in her case, when she had a coaching session from me, she was completely unprepared for what was coming, because she didn't understand how. She knew something was wrong with her relationship with her kids, but
For 2 boys.
yeah, but she didn't understand, you know, she didn't know where she really played a part in the negative part of it, you know. And boy, she really connected with it in the coaching session. It was shocking what she learned, and it changed her life for the better. And she goes, I can do this with my kids now. She gets it. And she got this journal and worked it, and it just brings her into a new level and a new understanding and a new perspective on, you know, nobody's bad, you guys. It's just that we get scared, we're pushed in a corner where we're forced to make decisions, or the environment around us, the people are crazy, okay? And you don't know how to handle that situation, and you kind of make it up as you go. You don't know. And it's a whole bunch of connected knee-jerk responses that all of a sudden one day you realize your life is just filled with chaos, and it just seems normal to you. When, of course, that's not normal at all, you know. When you have a relationship with your guides, there is no chaos. There is no drama. Nothing is loud. Okay, and you're just in your element. You're just one with it all. That's what it is. And I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about a connection. I'm talking about making the connection. You had it when you came in. You had that connection when you came in to yourself first, and to your higher self, and to your guides, and to everything that's out there that looks out for you, where you came from, okay? It's massive. And then you come into this world, and you came in with your amnesia. So you didn't really know how to handle all this, and everybody else came in with their amnesia, and you know, they've been sold on it pretty strongly, or they could remember what I'm talking about right here. So that's where, you know.
Yeah, the 2 things, well, the one thing that shocked me the most when I was this age of this boy right here and went to school is how I felt when I looked at the other kids, like they just didn't get it. Like they were like a pack of feral animals, feral dogs. And they were just everywhere, just all over. Like you said, the bullies started showing up and the fighting started showing up. And now you're put into this structured school environment. And the structure, I think, is in place to cause competitiveness.
It is.
Or separateness.
Well, the grade system, just having a grade system, you know, A through F, that does it right there. It's the grade system or the competitiveness is all connected to the separateness.
Right.
Okay, and you're not separate when you're at this point in your life where we always showed you new things. We being the guides. Okay, we always showed you new things. You were still connected. You were not disconnected. You were actually, you know, fighting to keep your connection. You were hiding. Again, that's another thing you learn. You learn when you're about this age, 6 or 7, you learn how to hide. You learn how to not let people in and really know who you are. When you're trying to keep yourself together, when you're trying to not throw yourself away and just have this world and that's all there is. You're still trying to, and what it feels like when you're a little kid, you're still trying to cheat. You're cheating. All these other kids gave it up. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you give it up? So you kind of feel like you're cheating, like you shouldn't be doing this. You can't have that, okay? And really what that is, and you never thought about what that was until now, until you realize this is all you have. This is not cutting it. In this world, if this is all you have, you know it is. You know how it feels when you're dragging a leg. It's like you're missing part of you. Something isn't making sense. And you know it. And you're missing you. You're missing this connection. That's what you're missing. That's what this is all about.
That's just about the time when you get into school where you've kind of mastered the connection.
Right.
And now they're putting pressure on you.
Real pressure.
And interrupting your flow that you had going.
In fact, they're in this new academic world that you just entered into. You are being, I know, I talk about it right here in my book, Guided, how I perceived it. And I saw it for what it was. And they said, they told me I was stupid. And they said I didn't get it. And on top of that, just to add a little bit more emphasis, they said I was ugly. Okay.
Stupid, ugly, and didn't get it.
Yeah, they go, Linda, you don't get it. And I was, I was in my own bliss, you guys. I was connected. I had the best friends. The name of this book is Guided. Her spirit guide angels were her best friends and life coaches. Okay. So I had my best friends. When I saw these these kids, getting together in their little groups, and they were friends, and they wouldn't let anybody else into their group, because that's an exclusive group of friends, and you have to be able to you have to be certain this or that to be in that group, to be those friends. I looked at those kids and I watched how they stabbed each other in the back, and I watched all the things that went wrong, and the rumors that went around, and everything. We all remember this. And I remember going, I have no interest in that kind of best friend, because I already have best friends. I don't need those kind of friends. That's conditional stuff. That's manipulation. That's how people use each other and as like weapons to get up the ladder, and some people are casualties along the way. Some of the kids have to be made fools of, or whatever it happens to be, the drama, the games that went on. I didn't have any of those problems with these guides, and never have. All right, so I saw through it, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I've got this. I'm a happy person. I'm happy by myself, and I just let it go.
When they react like that, when kids react like that to you, you're stupid, you're ugly, you don't get it. That just causes you to wander even further away from them.
It does. It did for me, because I didn't wander off like I was wounded or a little wallflower. I've never been like that, but I just wandered off because I wasn't interested in any of that. It had no appeal to me. So I guess I just didn't have anything to learn from it, That's what it was. Yeah.
Well, it's also about the same time you begin to feel stress in your life. Up until you met your peers, you didn't have a whole lot of stress, other than the stress that your parents put on you.
I had stress in the family.
You had a lot of stress, but
most kids don't.
Most kids don't.
Right.
I mean, this is a point where it's not what you wanted. You didn't want the stress.
Right.
You didn't want to be told what to do. You didn't want to be told how to think.
And the reason for that is, here you have all this pressure from this world just bombarding you. So who comes to your rescue when you don't have this connection? Who's left? There's only one thing left. And it's the ego. The ego, your ego, it wants to protect you. It wants to save you from all this. It wants to have answers, okay, to get these guys. It wants to stop this. So the ego jumps out there and rescues you. It says ridiculous things. It might even go out there and pretend it can fight these guys and scare them away, okay? I mean, the ego jumps out there. Well, the ego came in handy. Thank God for the ego when you didn't have yourself. You really were helpless. When you didn't have yourself, and you didn't have your guides, and you didn't have your higher self, and you didn't have everyone that you were with before you got here that agreed to help guide you through this life, all right? Except you forgot, except you were scared out of it because of all this going on here in this world, and because of your amnesia. So when the ego showed up, it was like, oh yeah, this is really good.
This is the one time when your ego was trying to protect you.
Well, the ego's always trying to protect you, Ray. It's always, even when you're 80 years old, your ego's trying to protect you. It's just that it gets carried away. It gets carried. See, the reason the ego gets carried away is because when this is all you have, when this world is all you have, and it's frightening to think that this is all there is, all right? And you don't have your reinforcement, the team, the group of guides and helpers, and yourself, okay? You threw it all that back, okay? But it didn't go anywhere. It's just been sitting there waiting in limbo for you to be ready again. Because they haven't forgotten you. But this is your life. This is your free will. Until you recognize where the ego has been doing all the work. All the work. Because you haven't recognized where you came from. Can you begin to tell the ego to just take it easy? It's okay. You don't have to rescue me like that anymore once you have this connection back. That's what this is about. Now you're working in both worlds. Now you're one again. And when you see what's going on in this world from this perspective, you see it, and it doesn't pull you in like it used to. It doesn't control you like it used to. It doesn't scare you like it used to. You know? You're not just invested in this world where it feels like the only thing, and you're dragging a leg, and you need help, and who's going to save you, and all that. You're not in panic mode because you've got yourself back. You've got the guides helping you. You know what they're sending you. You're getting the intuition. You're writing it into part 3 of this journal on the journaling part, okay? But you got to get through the journey in part 2 first, or you won't know who that is. You got to get that back. And then bring them together, okay? You're going to feel, here's how you're going to feel. You're going to feel like you got really smart really fast. That's how it's going to feel. Because you're going to feel capable for the first time in your life. Really capable. Without making desperate moves over here. You know, that's the ego doing that. The ego, it carried all that load for you until you wised up to what was missing. Okay?
Let's get back to that control thing you mentioned. You mentioned that you feel you're losing control of what you had before you reach this stage of early school years. You're losing the control you had over your life. You're setting your own direction, learning through self-realization, through curiosity, and now you're in this structured learning environment, and everybody's taught the same thing. Now that increases your disconnection to your guides.
Right. And to yourself.
Right. And it becomes the mechanism that society is going to use to control you for the rest of your life.
Now, what do you mean by that?
The disconnection, the learning, the group think, the being taught through structured...
That's acclimating the way, Ray's talking about how you're socialized in acclimating to this world. That's what that is. That's a socialization of a mass consciousness.
Right.
Okay, that's what that is.
It's the group think, and then they've introduced a couple of other things. You introduced the grading system, so now it's not only a...
that's the good enough system.
Yeah. It's not only a competitive system now, but there's
a worthiness.
There's no other way you can think.
Right, and it defines your worthiness based on this academic model. So again, it separates you. You know, when you come in, you totally know you're worthy. You don't question it. You love yourself totally because you just came from love, all right? Where love is all there is. Love and truth. So you're not lacking at all. That's why all these steps, all of these pages, all right, in this journal, in the journey part, this is what it brings out. It helps you remember, trigger you, like what Ray's talking about, to wherever you're triggered, whatever sets you off, whatever was, it's going to be some kind of obvious thing. It'll be a feeling that you have that just comes right up. It won't be something you have to go, well, do you think it's this or that? If you're doing that, it's not. It's none of those things. because it will come right out. It will not hide. It will hit you like wham. You'll feel it and you'll go, oh boy, oh, I got to write that in here. I definitely have to write that in here because I missed that before. And another thing I want you to know is as you're writing in the journal and you're doing one page and you're real focused and you're really getting it out there and laying it down on paper, you're not going to see the whole picture. You're not. That's why there's 18 pages in part 2. Once you're done with all the pages and you look at them together, you're going to see it. You're going to see it. It's going to be so obvious to you that you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to get mad, you're going to do whatever. A lot of things, all of them, all right, at different times in your life. So it's because you didn't know. You were forced to know something, you didn't. And all you did is you reacted, and you've been reacting ever since, and you just need to unwind that, identify what it is so you can see it on paper. It's the first time you've ever done that. And that's why it works. The first time you've ever done that, there it is. You put the pieces together, and it's just amazing.
So it's kind of a chain reaction. You come in and you live your life out of curiosity. Everything's curiosity to a baby.
Driven.
It's it.
That's
I
right.
wonder what's. I see something over there on the other side of the room.
Right. I'm on it.
I'm going to crawl over there and see what it is and check it out. It's all curiosity, and it's the beginning of self-realization. You can't get out to the edge of the steps and crawl out there. You're going to roll down the steps. That's self-realized. And then you're introduced to this structure when you get into school, kindergarten, first grade. And then not only is it structure, but it's also a competitive structure environment.
That's why the ego jumps in.
And then the ego jumps in, and people wonder why they're ill-equipped to make better decisions when they're 40 and 50, when all this happened.
Right, when you were formulating the dynamics of the ego, when you gave it its first job, okay? And that, depending on the severity of what you experienced in this world, its first job might have been to save you. I mean, it could have been radical, and you were so grateful for that ego to jump in and do that. So yeah, the ego kicks in. It's not a bad thing. The ego's not a bad thing. It's just that when all you do is have your ego, employ your ego to look out for you, your life is wrong, out of balance, okay? Because you completely you're not present at all. You are missing. You got to bring it together.
I'm trying to remember back when I was in first grade, second grade, that time. It was, I grew up in a strict Catholic environment. It was
He did.
straight lines, hands at your sides, looking straight ahead. Mr. Holly, stop looking out the window, that kind of thing. What does that do? What kind of that structure? I'm not just saying the Catholic environment, but what does that structure do to a child?
Well, when you feel it, you go back, Ray, to how it felt. Okay, here you were in the classroom, looking out the window. Evidently, what the teacher was teaching you was boring.
Right.
Okay? That's why you went out, and you basically, just short of leaving your body,
right,
you were out of there. Okay?
I almost had an out-of-classroom experience.
Right. You did not... It was not... So what did happen there? Think about it. Go back.
Yeah, you're bored. You're bored with the structure.
See, here's what's going on. When you come from this world, the world you came from, and you bring yourself back, you bring back all the life. You bring back the curiosity and the wonder. You bring back, well, why doesn't that work? Well, why can't I have that? Why can't I do that right now? Why do I have to listen to that teacher when she's boring me to tears? Please stop, okay? That's the part of you that's still there. Except the pressure in this world, the teacher in the classroom, and this happens to be the nun in the classroom that's running the show and keeping her finger on each one of these youngsters as they develop. And she feels, or most of the time she's, have the job of making sure that you perform a certain way. So the pressure on her is such that she puts the pressure on the children when they're little. Okay, when they're first learning like this. And the natural response from the child is to go, huh? What? You know, they don't, and the way this world looks at it is wake up, pay attention, snap out of it, quit daydreaming. It's all of that you are. Okay, so how do you know when you're 5 or 6 years old? How do you know how to bring these together and integrate this? How do you do that without being ridiculed in this world? Actually, I talk about it in my book, Guided, how I know this, how I lived it, how I did it, all right? And you guys, there were consequences, okay? I was called stupid, ugly, and I didn't get it, okay? That's what I got. It didn't work at all. I had such a good connection with my guides. I didn't really care about these kids. I just let them go about, you know, calling me what they did and you know, doing what they did. My only revenge and only way to get back at those guys was when they beat up, the bullies started to beat up the kids. And they were nasty. I mean, they just knock anyone down. They were just bullies. And because I was bullied by my mother so badly, I rescued the underdog, and I fought those bullies. So for me, without even thinking about it, I really didn't think about it. I just went right into action, and that was my new career.
Fighting.
Like
a professional boxer.
My fighting career, and I mean, I'm not a big person, okay, and I'm not a guy, so I just took it on. I had it in me where I was being abused so badly in the family home that I kind of needed to work it out anyway. So I moved it in a direction where I help these other kids. So we find a way when we bring it in and don't let it go. We tend to be more. We are definitely who we are. Like when that came out of me, it was already there. I didn't know it was there until I walked into this breeding ground of bullies, and boom, it sparked it. It was right there. I couldn't stop it if I tried. I guess I could have, but I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to have that, and I wasn't going to put up with that. So it's like your calling shows up. When you make this connection, doesn't matter what age you are. You could be this little guy, 6, 7 years old, all right? It doesn't matter what age you are. When your calling shows up and it's that strong, boom, you're right in it. You could be 40 and it shows up, you feel it. I told you, it's a knowing, it's a feeling. It's not an emotion. It's not a victim. It's not something you're fearful of. It's something that you know and that you feel. And it's an urge, and boom, you're right in it and you're doing it. That's the real you. That's the you that you're going to uncover when you uncover this hidden knowledge that's been hiding inside of you, all right? That you're going to write down in this journal. Again, I'm going to repeat for those who joined us later. On my website, lindadeir.com. Go to the blog at the top. You can get this on the homepage right here. It's a free download. It's on the right side. But after you get your free download, click on the blog at the top, and it'll take you to the blog page. And on the right, it says categories. And under the categories, it says My Guided Journey. And that's where Ray and I did the earlier videos, the 1-hour videos, on page 1 through 18, that you need to go to. They're the early videos, so go all the way to the beginning, at the bottom and over a page or so. And start there before you start writing into your journal, because you need to watch those videos to get the right mindset, to get connected to the right energy inside of you, to help you recall and trigger those feelings in this world And as you bring yourself back, because that's what it is, it's a balancing act. And in these videos, you will be bringing yourself back. Until you can trust who you are and you know who this is, can you have this connection with your guides? Because you're walking around, drifting around, all right? Dragging a leg, living in just one world. You can't reach, your guides can't reach you. You're living in fear and you're living in panic over here in this world because it feels like the only world you have when it's not true. So when you start to bring this back, when you start to remember and document what happened from the right mindset, again, referring to those videos you need to watch first, before you start writing in here, that's the secret to pulling this off, to really getting this down.
I just had a revelation. This whole process is like, here's an analogy. You come into this world as a new person, a baby. You have this connection. You have all the gifts you're going to ever need. And you have this skill, this relationship skill with your guides, okay? Let's say...
And yourself.
And yourself. Let's say that you came, let's put it in simpler terms. You came in knowing how to play the piano. You came in with this talent of playing the piano. And for the first 5-6 years of your life, you just had fun playing the piano. But then you got to school, and they said, you're doing it all wrong. Now you have to hold your hands like this. You have to practice this. You have to do these exercises before you can play the piano. And what they're doing is they're imposing. That's the separateness that they're imposing. You're doing it wrong. You need to do it just like everybody else does it. They all play the piano this way, so you have to play the piano this way. And you go through 8 years of that in elementary school.
It's like a pounding.
It's like a pounding. After 8 years, you finally have given in that, well, that must be the way I have to play the piano. And then you get to high school, and you start all over at the bottom. You're a freshman. That's like first grade again.
Yeah.
You're starting all over
true.
with the same feelings you had when you came into grade school. Only the cliques are more established. The boys are bigger.
Yeah.
You know.
And the threat seems bigger.
Right.
Okay, because the threats are bigger. I mean, the consequences are bigger. Everything gets bigger. So the sooner that we connect with this, the sooner you find out where you got tossed around and confused, really, really confused, and write it in here from an objective point of view, not from somebody who took it personally, okay, but somebody, you, the real you, who sees it for what it is objectively. That's the big game changer here. When you're using My Guided Journey and you're working through this, that's how come this works. It's your mindset that you're coming from. That's why those early videos that Ray and I did on page 1 through 18 in My Guided Journey under the blog, that really will get you on the right foot when you start writing in each one of these pages. Critical to starting to write in the journey part in part 2. On any page you're doing, watch the associated video first. And even sleep on it. Even after you watch the video, just let yourself rest with it and connect with yourself. That's what this is all about. That's the whole point. And then when you start to remember what happened there, it's productive. It will pan out. It will give you a result that's going to be, I'm not going to call it better than what you expected, totally different, okay? Because it's going to just wake you up. It's just going to wake you up.
It's going to bring up a lot of feelings, that's for sure.
It's going to bring you back. And you've never lived your life where you're back. That's what's different about this. It's going to calm you down. You're going to calm down. You're not, because you know this is not the only place there is. This is not all there is, this world. You're going to know that. And you're going to calm down. I mean, if this is the only world, if I have ever felt like this was the only world I ever had, I don't think I would have made it. I don't think I would have. I don't know how anybody made it without having this. Okay, so it's time to get that back, and it's going to change everything for the better.
You're going to find out you weren't such a loner after all, eventually. I mean, if you felt isolated by your peers in elementary school, by the time you got to high school, you really were isolated and became a loner.
Right.
And then what happens after 4 years of that? You're pushed right out into the world.
And you're constantly ill-equipped.
Right, to make decisions.
Because you're pulling from these early years.
Right.
You feel like you've been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and at the same time, everything that's been going on around you seems so boring, so slow. That's because you were missing. Where you came from, it's not slow at all. This world is very slow when you compare it to where you came from, to who you are, and to all that's available to you, your guides, your angels, your higher self, everything that's available to you that agreed to see you through your journey in this lifetime. That's what's been missing. That's a lot.
You know, you kind of got caught up in the routine of life.
You didn't have time to think it through.
Right.
There were no role models. None. How could you do it? I mean, you guys, I didn't have any role models except for these guides right here. When they saved my life at 20 months old, and they showed up all around me, and I saw what they saw when they looked at me on the floor in a puddle of water, when I woke up and I didn't expect to wake up, and I thought I was dead. Okay, and they were there. They were not panicking. They stood there very calmly, looking at me. And I knew everything. I looked up at them and I instantly knew what they knew. I remembered who I was. I remembered where I came from. I remembered them. I remembered why I was here. The whole thing just came together. This is what it's like. And when you start to, as you move through this, when you work through part 2 of My Guided Journey and you get this done, you're going to start having realizations that are amazing. And that's why the journal part, in part 3, the journal, this is where you write down everything that's going on, that's coming through now, that you're back, okay? And you start writing in here and documenting what's going on. Just like when you were the little child, 6, 7 years old, at this particular point in your life, we're on page 7 of 1 through 18 today. But just like you were the little child, you remember who that was, and you're back together again. You know, in an earlier video, I said, it's like Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a big fall.
Yep.
And
all those king's horses and all those king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Right. And that's you. Nobody can do this for you. Nobody can fix this for you. This is your job. This is your job to remember what happened, okay? And put it in here and write it in here and document this. And then once you see it for what it is and you see it like this, and you're not a victim and you didn't take it personally, and you're not running on emotional energy, and this isn't the only world that you have. There's no way you can understand any of this when that's all you have. The only place you're coming from. You've got to make this connection. When you watch these earlier videos on My Guided Journey that we did, it will help you make that connection so that you do come from that right mindset, because it's there. It's all there. You just haven't realized it and didn't know how to access it. And it's, like I said earlier in this, it's easier than you think.
And that's what the journal is all about. Getting you back to the point where your life jumped the tracks.
That's a good way of putting it, Ray. Yeah. And you know what? It wasn't your fault.
Nope.
You got pushed and pushed and pushed, or you were so bored and bored and bored. When something did come up that would have been good for you to know, you were dazing out looking out the window, Mr. Holly.
Yes. Pay attention, Mr. Holly.
Right. Or you fell asleep on your desk. I mean,
that was high school.
here's what I was going to say. This world, when you finally make this connection, you'll realize how slow this world feels. It's like walking through sand. It's just, oh, you can't get traction. It's just so slow compared to the world you came from. You can do anything once you make this connection and reconnect and bring this back and make it one, okay? Then you're one again. You're not broken off. You're not separate. You're not clueless. You're not desperate because this is all you have. No, you're not that anymore. You see it for what it is.
Yeah, if you came in here perfect and you didn't have to evolve while you were here, it'd be a boring life. Everybody would be the same.
Right.
I mean, you run into these setbacks in your life and these challenges in your life and making bad decisions and people forcing you to do this and that so you can appreciate where you came from.
That is so
once
true.
you find your way back.
Once you guys, that's very good. Once you make this connection, you start putting the pieces together here. You're building your own puzzle. You're putting your puzzle together, remembering what happened in your life when it all started, when you did go off the tracks right here,
right.
Where it happened, and the many times it happened. Once you bring this back, I mean it, your life will never be the same. And it will be easier than you thought.
Putting those pieces of puzzle right back together the way it was before.
Exactly. And Ray and I are here on Thursdays to back you guys up. You work with your journal, you get moving through this, okay? And you hit any bump in the road or you need some more information and you had an experience that you just can't seem to see through it. I'm an expert at this, okay? I know what you're going through, all right? So you just come here to these Facebook Lives on Thursday, same place, same time, and I'll help you with that.
Write your questions down.
You have to bring your questions.
Bring your questions. We didn't have any questions tonight.
Okay.
So, write your questions down. You can email us questions during the week.
Right, you can.
If you don't want to wait till
I'll bring them to the Thursday Facebook Live and talk about that. But you guys, get this costs nothing. This is free on my website, okay? And what isn't free is my flagship book. And this book here is really the foundation for getting you guys, getting your head around what this is and how it worked in my life and how it works in your life when you start working it. This is how you do it, all right?
Very good. So we're going to be back next week.
Okay, January 4th. We'll see you then. But before we leave, we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about next week, right, Ray?
Page 8.
Page 8. We're going to be talking about you became cautious. Now, this is an evolution, a quick evolution of your early years. This all happens really quick. We're on page 8, and you're probably about 7 or 8. So those early years, you made some decisions that were snap decisions, knee-jerk reactions that stayed with you your entire life. Okay, and this is another one of them. You became cautious, always being pressured to tell them who we were. You withdrew. So this little girl right here is curled up in a ball, just, hiding her head in her hands, and she doesn't have anyone to talk to about this. Nobody would get it. At this point, you knew you were knowing more than anyone wanted you to, or that you could explain yourself. Your relationship with us was changing. Pressured to choose between worlds. So this is what we're going to talk about next week. You were really, really, really under stress now. It was a breaking point. You couldn't explain it. You couldn't defend it. You couldn't seem to figure out how to hold on to it. It was you. It was this connection you had with your guides, with all those that agreed to help you before you came into this life. Okay? That you didn't remember, but because you didn't feel separate from it, it felt almost like it was you. It was so natural, all right? So you didn't have a basis of comparison like what Ray was talking about earlier about until you go through the struggle, do you appreciate who it is that you are, the great gifts and talents that you brought with you, the intuition, the knowingness and feelings you have that you can trust yourself. Until you go through all this maze, this madness, do you at some point find your way? Finding your way is reconnecting with yourself and pulling it into this world. And what does that become? That's why you came here. You came here to experience that. Not this person that's broken off and just lives in this world in fear and constantly being knocked around. No, you came here to live your life fully because you're fully here. You're present in this world and experience what that is, what you're drawn to do, what the urge is guiding you toward, okay? That's the whole point to doing this. So when you're at this point where you become cautious and you're rolling up into a ball, you're barely holding on to that precious part of you that you brought with you. But you didn't know how to describe it. You didn't know how to even make sense of it in your own mind. So for you to hold on to it, you had to go through the process of letting it go and walk into the struggle. That would be over here. And the fear and all the things that however much you needed as lessons and learning in this world, whatever it was, so it got your attention, so you realized that you were missing, that something was missing. And that's why you'd be with us right now. That's why you find us. That's why we help you with us.
That's how people show up accidentally.
That's right. That's right. That's how this all comes together. So that's what next week is going to be about. So don't miss it.
Same time.
Bring those questions. Get your free journal off my website.
Tell your friends.
And tell your friends. And if you haven't read Guided, get it or listened to it. It's I did Guided in paperback, audiobook, and Kindle, as well as the little books. Yeah. So.
And if you got Amazon gift cards for Christmas, it's a good way to spend them.
That's right. That's right. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next Thursday.
Bye-bye.